Hey y'all, and welcome back to The Den. My name is Dylan, and today we're going to be talking about every X-Men film ever made. I love this franchise, and I wanted to refresh myself on the series before the premiere of Deadpool and Wolverine, just weeks away from now. It's been 24 years and 14 films in this series, so I kind of wanted to talk about all of them and give my rundown on every film. So sit back, grab your Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket for maximum viewing pleasure, and relax while I discuss every X-Men film ever made. Disclaimer. No spoilers will be discussed for any of the films. I kind of wanted to talk about every film as if no one has ever seen it before, just in case no one has and is going into this series blind. Alright, I hope you all are comfy. I got my Quicksilver shirt on, so let's go ahead and jump into all 14 of these films, starting with X-Men 1. X-Men 1 was a groundbreaking film, helping to kick off the superhero boom we are still experiencing to this day, sandwiched between other comic book juggernauts, Blade and Spider-Man. Sure, they completely took away one of the most recognizable aspects of the original comic, colorful spandex costumes. However, the spirit and tone of the comic was still present, focusing on social and political issues, as well as struggles with identity. It keeps things surprisingly grounded in our reality and takes everything very serious, while dealing with fantastical mutant characters. It was an interesting gamble to juggle all of these elements, and it really paid off. X2 came out 3 years later and proved that X1 wasn't just a fluke. The first film focused heavily on Logan, played by Hugh Jackman, and X2 keeps that focus on him. Just like The Empire Strikes Back, Aliens, and Terminator 2, it became known as one of the best sci-fi sequels ever made by building on its characters, world, and conflict established in the first movie, and elevating them to a grand scale, while also building stakes for the final chapter of the trilogy. It's just too bad that chapter didn't make it to the finish line unscathed. X-Men The Last Stand came out another 3 years later, in 2006, after a troubled production. Director change and rewrites kept this film from being everything it could be, because it ended up getting rushed out. The film tries to balance two very important plots, worthy of two separate films, just so they can wrap everything up in a nice bow. Honestly, besides a few cringe-worthy moments, it's not a bad film, just overall disappointing. X-Men Origins Wolverine, on the other hand, is a very bad film. It plays out like a soft reboot, giving Logan a closer bond to Sabretooth, his brother Victor, which feels so different from how the first movie portrayed these characters' relationship, in that it didn't hint at any past at all with each other. The fact that it retreads some of the same threads from X2, like Logan's backstory, feels like they had no idea how to move forward with the series, so they decided to go backwards. X-Men First Class cements the franchise in its own past. After X-Men Origins failed and a Magneto-centric Origins film canceled, Fox pivoted to explain everyone's past instead. While James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender brilliantly play younger versions of the characters, played by Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, respectively, the strange retcons happening makes you question if this is a soft reboot or not. Next is The Wolverine. In this film, we actually continue off from where we last left Logan in X3. It's a strange side story set in Japan that honestly goes nowhere. It dealt a little bit with Logan's past, his trauma, and grief from the end of X3, but never really building more. By the end of the story, it just felt like a one-shot comic that won't have any lasting effects on the story to come. Next up is X-Men Days of Future Past. This is an excellent sequel to both the original trilogy and the new prequel series. However, this is the film that ultimately broke the timeline in two. It's no longer an original trilogy versus prequel trilogy battle that the Star Wars franchise experienced. It's more like okay, that's the original trilogy. Continuity's out the door, let's do whatever we want with the mutant characters. It's honestly hard to believe that these events occurred before the original X-Men film, and the writers expect you to leave a lot of your continuity brain at the door. Especially when they reference the version of Logan's backstory from X-Men Origins rather than X2. It's so confusing because they expect you to know everything that happened while also taking everything new at face value instead of making sense within its own timeline. After years of anticipation, the fan-beloved character Deadpool finally got a live-action film, and it really delivered. Getting strict with continuity really goes against the fourth wall-breaking shenanigans of Deadpool, so I won't harp too much on that. But the changes to the franchise once again shows that this still takes place in an alternate reality. At the very least, the new reality of First Class, since Deadpool 2 had a cameo from that group. But I digress, because this is a well-needed shot in the arm for the franchise, because of how fun and satisfying the film ended up being. Ryan Reynolds and the filmmaking team did a great job bringing Deadpool to life, and he's now an everlasting pop culture staple, and proved an R-rated film set in the X-Men universe can work. X-Men Apocalypse was definitely a film that came out. X-fans have clamored for an Apocalypse film for so long that when we finally got it, the film was unfortunately dead on arrival. It's the sequel to the fan favorite Days of Future Past, and came out the same year as an R-rated spin-off film, and premiered in theaters with just a whimper. How did this even happen? With the power of retrospect, I suspect that this film just wasn't what fans wanted. Deadpool was such a big hit that year, so releasing a formula-driven, generic superhero film just a few months later wasn't such a great idea. Yes, they already had this in the pipeline, and Deadpool was a risk Fox didn't know would pay off, so the fact the safer movie made significantly less than the prior film made Fox realize, hey, maybe we should keep going down the R-rated route, right? And they did just that. Logan was released, and it kept the R-rated adventures going, and again, knocked it out of the park. Wolverine as a cinematic character was finally unleashed, and free to be the ruthless and violent character his powers allow him to be, while letting himself feel emotions of humanity he struggled to handle throughout his entire life. If this was the last X-Men film you ever watched, it's a fantastic end to the entire saga, no matter what timeline you're following. Deadpool 2 was inevitable because of how successful the first film was, and thankfully they doubled down on the R rating. More raunchy humor, more violence, and more gore. In retrospect, it was brilliant to introduce a time travel element with Cable, because now the third film can explore the consequences of how Deadpool 2 ended, and can bring back Wolverine into the films without undermining the ending to Logan. All in all, it's a great sequel that kept the Mutant films on a hot winning streak. I might have to take a break here because honestly I feel like those chimichangas are coming back with a vengeance. Oh, those damn chimichangas! Do not go in there. Oh god, okay. Whoa. Yeah, I am not getting those again. Once Upon a Deadpool shouldn't even exist as an entry, but here we are. This PG-13 cut of Deadpool 2 killed some of the goodwill Fox received from releasing 3 R-rated mutant films. But that didn't completely lose fans. Everyone understood this was a family-friendly version for the holiday season of 2018, because Fox needed something in theaters at the time. Ultimately, everyone forgot about this cut, and doesn't even consider it a real entry to the series. Why it's on this list is because I wanted to just talk about it real quick. That's it. Dark Phoenix, ironically, is the film that killed the hot streak for the X-Men films. It's a film no one asked for, with characters in a dying timeline, a retelling of a story already adapted to live action, and lacks the self-awareness of what audiences are looking for in a mutant film. This entry proves Fox had no idea how to handle the franchise going forward, and had no interest in keeping any continuity alive. It was a vanity project for writer-director Simon Kinberg, and it shows. And finally, we have New Mutants, and this is the last hurrah for the film franchise. Very little, very late. The film plays out like a failed TV pilot released to theaters to recoup any costs, so Disney, can wash their hands of it. That's right, this was the last X-Men film to be produced by 20th Century Fox before the Disney buyout. Reshoots were supposed to happen to make the film more horror-centric, but ultimately that didn't happen, and whatever cut Disney had was just pushed to theaters during the pandemic out of desperation for a quick buck. It's such a shame too, because the idea of a mutant-centric horror film is fantastic, but it never commits to that and ends up being more of a teen drama that leaves you wanting more. And that's the X-Men film franchise to date. All in all, it started out great, had some fantastic highs and horrible lows, but ultimately it was a successful franchise, earning a total of over $6 billion. The series seems to be on a more positive trajectory now that Marvel Studios took over the franchise and created a project catering to what fans are actually looking for. Hopefully they deliver strong and bring back that hot winning streak the franchise has been needing again. Fun fact, many of the X-Men films were produced by the Donner Company, a production company founded by Richard Donner and his wife, Lauren Schuler Donner. Richard Donner famously directed the first 2 Superman films. The director of the first 2 X-Men films, who shall not be named, famously made a really bad Superman film, which was a sequel to Donner's first 2 films. So what can we learn out of this? Superman was the first mutant. But in all seriousness, if you're new to the series and want to understand most of what Deadpool and Wolverine will offer, I suggest just watching X1 through 3, Logan, and the 2 Deadpool films to really get a strong feeling for what the series can deliver, what themes it explores, and how much of a roller coaster ride the series goes through. After that, or if you're already up to date, let me know your thoughts on the X-Men film franchise in the comments below. Also, be sure to subscribe because when Deadpool and Wolverine comes out, you know I'll be there to let you know how the movie is. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time at Dylan's Den.